what exactly is shadow AI?
Yeah, great question. AI is kind of first entered into everyone's homes and on their personal life. I think folks were using ChatGPT, and then they found they could use it at work, so it exploded. And I think it was so new and so prevalent and so effective that folks immediately saw some value to use it at work. I could help this write my email. I could use this to help me review reports. And they were starting to use this long before security kind of had their arms around it, or, how do you secure this whole new thing? And it's accessible to everyone thanks to OpenAI. So it really exploded before security really had an opportunity to, put any guardrails around it or any process or procedures, any protections.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Impact of AI Explored. Today, we are going to talk about shadow AI, and I think it's a term a lot of people have heard. So we have a great guest for that, and that is Josh Woodruff. And Josh is the CEO of MassiveScale.ai. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, James. Happy to be here.
Excellent. So Josh, we've obviously all heard the term shadow IT, but now we have this term shadow AI. So, what exactly is shadow AI?
Yeah, great question. AI is kind of first entered into everyone's homes and on their personal life. I think folks were using ChatGPT, and then they found they could use it at work, so it exploded. And I think it was so new and so prevalent and so effective that folks immediately saw some value to use it at work. I could help this write my email. I could use this to help me review reports. And they were starting to use this long before security kind of had their arms around it, or, how do you secure this whole new thing? And it's accessible to everyone thanks to OpenAI. So it really exploded before security really had an opportunity to, put any guardrails around it or any process or procedures, any protections. And then I think since then, obviously, security teams and corporate IT groups have kind of sanctioned it. They make it a first class citizen, but I think that came after the fact. It was free. It was through a browser. It's very accessible. So a lot of people are using AI, and now even Agentic AI, building AI agents, which I'm happy to talk about, without corporate oversight, corporate governance, or even any awareness, whether it's from IT, from a licensing perspective, or the procurement departments, or the security teams that really need to manage access to company confidential data. So shadow AI is very useful. It's very helpful. People use it. And I think people ran ahead of security teams and IT teams, almost just like any other tech innovation. We saw the same thing with cloud. This is a repeat of a very similar evolution of technology. But shadow AI is just people using AI that's not really aware of corporate governance or security.
And not authorized by corporates to use.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, without governance. I think that's the real risk. And we do a lot. In fact, with anytime we start working with customers, that's one of the first things we do. We've got to find out where are all the places that AI exists today. And some will claim we don't, we ban this. We don't have this. It's not here. We always find it. It's always there. It's helpful. I mean, people use it to get their jobs done. It's a fact
Yeah,
of life.
no, actually, yeah. Like one of the things I've been looking at in my own role as well is like like you've said, the horses bolted the the stable. Like you can't put in like say, oh, we're now banning AI. No, that's not going to work. You have to look at it from a more like guidelines. And that kind of viewpoint, and that's kind of one of the ones I've been looking at is like, okay, we know everyone uses it, so we're gonna have to put some sort of process around it because there's obvious things like don't get NDA data and upload it to ChatGPT and that, but I'm sure some people still do that kind of thing as well. So yeah, no,
More than
I
some.
understand what you're saying. Yeah. We had a whole we've talked before about AI browsers. Like if you want to talk shadow AI, there's something to send every security person into, complete panic mode. They are so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about how they're going to have a major impact in 2026.
Yeah. Completely agreed. Yeah. And the focus of MassiveScale.ai is really about accelerating the adoption of AI without destroying your business. Meaning we take a security first approach. We don't say security first approach because that implies defensive and slow. People don't quite get the security first approach is actually an accelerant. It actually helps you go faster and get out of pilot purgatory. So, from a security perspective, the agentic browsers or AI native browsers, they're quite interesting. They could take action to anything you can take action on, and they're operating under your identity. It's quite the challenge for security teams. I don't think the industry is fully caught up on how exactly to apply governance to those models. So I do see folks banning AI browsers while they may allow ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other frontier models, and they may even allow agentic AI automation through LLMs. And RAG is a big one. I think RAG is such a great retrieval augmented generation where you can use an LLM against your corpus of data, because that's the key to every business. Their value is their data, their IP, their customer data, so those are all great use cases. And I think security and corporate governance has found a way to do those things safely. The AI browser, I don't think we have yet. This is a bit of the wild, wild west, where I see more people banning it, or at least I think the best companies get policy out and not the 500-page policy doc that nobody reads. Simple policy, simple language that people understand. And just give me some guidelines. Okay, look, if you're going to use this, here's how to use it. Here's not how to use it. Just make it simple. And, make it plain, and just give some folks, if folks want to use it, tell them how to use it safely and give them some education.
Yeah, I think education is a big part of all of this. Is like, because as we've said, everyone is using AI. Any company that says, "Oh, we don't have anyone using it," you're mistaken, or you don't actually know your own workforce, because everyone's using it pretty much across the board. The AI browsers, we talked about this, like as you said, like you log into an AI browser, you log into your M365 tenant. And then the AI browser has complete access to everything you have access to. That, the chances of that getting hijacked or something are at the moment, because we don't, the security is not good enough on these AI browsers yet. So the potential for something to go really badly wrong is there. So I understand security teams going, we either ban or we put guidelines out there about what you can and not do in these. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and it's really scary because you posted something on LinkedIn where you say, well, AI can be held accountable, but if you use shadow AI or you use an agentic browser or an AI browser to do your work and something goes horribly, horribly wrong, they're going to come to you.
Right. Well, and it's even worse because it looks like you. It's just operating at machine speed, right? I almost feel like the AI browser is a whole other class of risk than agentic AI. We're big on agentic AI. We love agentic AI. We've got a framework that we put about. We wrote about it in the book that my wife and I put out. Ironically, my wife and I wrote a book on this agentic AI and zero trust. And one of the key things there, zero trust is an identity-based security model. It's don't apply security to perimeters and networks. Apply it to the identity. Who is it? What are they doing? What are they allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? Where are they allowed to go? What are they allowed to see? What if they go wrong? What data are they eating? What data are they emitting? So all this is kind of this framework we put around it. And it works when you've established identity for an AI agent, because it's going to behave differently. And you can expect that, and you can put policy around a machine speed identity. When it shows up as you can't apply specific security controls because it shows up as you. It's just operating a lot faster. And policy around a human implies you have judgment and you have, morals and you know what's right and wrong. AI agent doesn't know that, or an AI agentic browser doesn't know that. It's just like, oh, you've asked me to do something. I'm going to use everything at my disposal to try to get this thing done. It doesn't know whether it's right or wrong, right? So,
yeah.
Can we detect the other than logging in using the browser? Is there a way to detect that a browser is operated by a machine?
I think the biggest signal is the velocity. It's volume of requests. Is it, whether it's API calls or activities that are happening, and more mature corporations and enterprises, they have behavioral monitoring in place. This has been around for quite a while. It's hard to get it right. It's always it's a tuning exercise. But when you've baselined what's normal and you know what normal activity is, then you can more easily detect abnormal activity and surface that and take action. Somebody becomes aware of it. Maybe you've got automation around it if you're using the full SOAR playbook, as they call it, SOAR. But so some shops are able to detect when, hey, this person normally doesn't do all these things this quickly. And whether it's a problem or not, you'd have to figure that out. But at least you see the change from baseline, the abnormal activity happening. I think that's the biggest signal right now. It's just the volume goes up. That's the best signal I think we have at the current moment.
And that's scary because having behavioral security in place you need to be a big corporate, because that's not really cheap.
Right.
To
Yes.
have and to implement and to maintain.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of companies that will not have that in place.
Right.
And those can be at risk.
Yeah.
Or are at risk.
Yeah, and it's even when Sam Altman even said himself, like, hey, this agentic browser is really cool. Security teams are going to have to figure out how to manage this. I hope they catch up quickly. It's like, it's
Hold
kind
on.
of this.
Shouldn't he and his team have figured out the security side of that?
Before putting it out,
they're doing live beta testing with everything they put out. Like that's what they're doing with all of these products. Is we are the beta testers for these, even though it's productionized. It's kind of crazy.
And back to the post that Gerjan mentioned, the LinkedIn post I made earlier, it's who's accountable, who's responsible for this. And there's this big, with CISA in the US, we have CISA, CISA, and they're a big proponent of secure by design and responsible computing and taking responsibility. The big software vendors should take more responsibility for the security of their software and not push it off onto the users or the implementers of their software. So there's a big conversation about accountability and responsibility of security in general for software. And then you look at kind of the approach Sam Altman's taking in OpenAI. It's like, well, that's, we're just innovating and building the frontier models. Somebody else needs to come in and be responsible. But the post I wrote, and Gerjan mentioned earlier, it's AI can't get fired, but you can. So, the responsibility is on you, at least at the current moment, until kind of governance catches up with this rapid innovation cycle. And this is why MassiveScale.ai exists. It's really to try to help companies accelerate their value of AI, of their use of AI, of agentic AI, but do it in a way that has guardrails and audit trails, that's compliant, that's regulated, that is, build the roll cage around your Ferrari so that you can move really fast. Don't slow everything down. Be the enabler. In fact, I have a big presentation I've done. You can find it out there. The last one I did for the Cloud Security Alliance AI Summit was using AI hype to accelerate your zero trust adoption. And it's like this is the opportunity for CISOs to become the hero if they could take the driver's seat and not say, no, we don't do that here. It's okay, here's how we're going to do that here. and help implement
That's a
AI.
very that's not a usual CISO approach. Now I have to say, usually no is their approach. So
Yes.
that you've really flipped that on its head. I'd be interested to hear what some CISOs had to say about that. Did they give you any feedback about it? What about approaching it in that way, or are they like, are you mad?
Both. Yeah, we get both reactions. But I think the more I do see a big shift. I'm in across a number of security communities. I'm in Cloud Security Alliance's Zero Trust Working Group, their AI safety group. I'm also a member of IANS Research. They're a big cybersecurity think tank based out of Boston. It's about 150 practitioners who advise large enterprises on cybersecurity. My focus is AI, Zero Trust. Across those communities, security as an enabler is the message. It is the shift. I think that's been accepted as the right way to do things. Security never gets anywhere when they're fighting against the business. And in fact, the big part about Zero Trust itself, and why I feel Zero Trust is the best way to do security, along with a lot of other people, including John Kittervag, the guy who coined it in 2009. The fundamental aspect of Zero Trust, it's a business aligned security strategy. It's not security for security's sake. It's not security to slow everybody down and stop the business. It's security to accelerate the business's ability to accomplish its objectives. That's the big shift with Zero Trust. This is why I feel like the Zero Trust security strategy is a perfect fit for AI, because let me help you accelerate your use of AI, but we're going to do this safely. We're going to do this in a regulated way with auditability. We're going to have kill switches. We're going to have micro-segmentation, as they call it. Like, your AI shouldn't be running wild. And if you build agents, your marketing agent shouldn't have access to your payroll system. Like, develop the
Why not?
guardrails and the governance.
I want to know what everyone's salary is.
It's crazy talk. Yeah. But you're right. I think it is new for a lot of, for kind of, there's like the old school CISO mindset. It really is the department of no. And unfortunately, I think there is a faction of the industry, although I think it's dwindling. The faction of the industry is, look, everything you're doing is risky, and my job is to remove risk. Business is risky. Like, if we're going to remove risk, then don't stop the business. Like, the business accepts risk. There's a risk tolerance, and you have a risk posture. So you got to flip it. You got to flip the mindset, and I do see that happening across the security industry more and more.
Yeah, no. I get what you're saying about CISOs. I suppose, IT departments in general in the past were the department of no as well. And they're very much having, so I think it's that whole kind of technical security teams, they all kind of have to flip this and, be the enabler and not the blocker of these things, because of the way it can accelerate your business. So yeah, it's a very, I think it's a very different mindset that companies have to have now going forward. I suppose that's why I was saying earlier on that we have looked at implementing guidelines, not saying, no, you can't use this. Now, we're not saying you can use every AI model. We're saying these are your prescribed ones, but we're giving them some sort of guidelines on what you can and can do.
Right. Just be clear about it. And to your point, James, I think we talked about shadow AI earlier, kind of an extension of shadow IT. I think the approach, the solution to both of these things is the same. It's make the path of least resistance the most effective, most secure path. Remove friction from the ability for people to get their jobs done in the most efficient and effective way. That means enabling them with the right tools, with the right IT tools, enabling them with AI. And to your point, just make it clear what they can and can't do with it. And, and if you get a lot of friction from what you're saying you can't do, then look into that, reevaluate it, figure out how to make that safe and secure. There's various ways you can make all of these things secure, and there's approaches, and it's a systems thinking, it's an architectural approach. You can make almost anything safe. You just have to sometimes get creative to do that. And, your first answer shouldn't be no, it should be how.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose why people might find this overwhelming is things are changing so quickly. Like, we did a series of predictions of AI for 2025, and nowhere on that list was an AI browser. So, we picked out the key trends for 2025. We didn't even have AI browsers on our radar whatsoever. And if you look at, the big thing at the moment is Claude Code, obviously, and then they've brought out this preview of Cowork just today, which looks insanely useful and insanely powerful at the same time, because you're giving it access to all these resources and telling it to do all these tasks, and yeah, it's like things are getting interesting. They're moving
Interesting
fast.
fast.
Yeah,
really
Yes,
moving
they are.
fast. So I think, as you said, the biggest, I suppose, takeaway is that this is uh, a mindset shift for the IT industry, because
Yeah.
there has been a lot of, no, can't do that. And we even see it in end user computing, where me and Gerjan have worked. Like, in the past couple of years, there has been that shift to where you can't, prior to this, you would have provided a really locked down desktop, your essential apps, whitelist what's allowed, blacklist everything else, and people just don't accept that. And it's the same with AI. I think you could approach that. People aren't going to accept restrictions. You have to work with them.
Right. And I think I love the way you frame that, James. I couldn't agree more. You have to work with them. And this is where you almost have to come back and say, wait, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We're all working for this business to help the business accomplish its objectives. And we're all part of the mission and the vision and the strategy. It's like trying to remind each other that we're not doing security for security's sake, or we're not doing IT for IT's sake. We're not building the tech fiefdom just so we can do the latest, greatest tech. The whole point is to enable the business. So if you're not enabling the business, then technology is failing. And so is security. I mean,
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's very much the case, that you everyone is trying to enable and accelerate the business, and it's just getting an approach that has the least amount of risk, but there is still some risk.
right. The acceptable amount of risk might be another way to
Exactly.
say
That's the term, not least amount, the acceptable level of risk, because that's going to vary from company to company. There's no uniform risk level across industries.
Yeah, there's not.
Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
So okay, so I think what we're seeing now is that we have ways we can eliminate shadow AI by just having that contact and discussion internally, and that's the way you get around it, is by educating and having discussions with your staff and that kind of thing. So shadow AI should be a short-lived phenomena, hopefully, if organizations are open to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that. I feel like until and this is shaping up in real time, until security and technology teams are adjustable and adaptable to accommodate rapid innovation. I think innovation is always going to be out ahead of it, and there's a natural part of that, and you can't secure or manage something you don't know about. It's innovation is the unknown. It's an experiment.
Sure.
It's new stuff, and that new stuff's going to land before you know how to govern it or buy it or procure it and manage it. So I think there's some inevitability about innovation always ahead of security and corporate governance. So I think the big lesson that most security and technology leaders are having to learn right now is you need to be adjustable and adaptable. You need to kind of follow along. Don't fight the wave, especially now, because if you fight this AI wave, your business can be left behind. I mean, this is just a fact, right? Your competitors are using it and it compounds. The business value companies are getting out of AI is a compounding value. So the sooner you start, the more value you get, the quicker you get more value. It's a compounding effect. We see this time and time again with AI ROI studies. There's a lot out there about this. So the sooner you get on board with it, and the sooner you just start to kind of come to terms with the fact that this is innovation that's enabling businesses, it's adding real value, and you need to figure out how to secure it and govern it and do it in a way that is within acceptable risk tolerances for your organization, the better, because the longer you take to do that, the more time you're giving your competitors to get ahead. And with the compounding value add, they're going to get so far ahead that you become irrelevant. And then I'm not a big, they can't keep up. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a doom and gloom guy whatsoever, but I'm out there in the industry. I'm seeing this happen real time, and it's happening. So will shadow AI ever totally get removed? I don't think it will. And I think there's an aspect of that that's inevitable, but I think there are approaches and strategies you can take, architectures you can design that can accommodate for that, and that can at least stay abreast of the rapid innovation cycles and, work alongside the early adopters. And, when something new happens, you should be using that first. You take a look at that first. And you can be the hero of the organization. Hey guys, there's this new innovation. We already figured out how to secure it. Go to town, go start using it. Until folks start taking that approach, I think shadow AI will continue to grow.
Yeah, so that means that if you have an organization that has these early adopters in their organization, you as a CISO and IT should be talking to them. What do you see? What do you want to use? And how are we going to help you use it? Not
Absolutely.
How can we secure it, but how can we help you use it? And then we have a lot of stuff to do in the background. But is this going to help you? Is this going to save you time, money, better customer experience, better whatever? We can help you. We'll figure out the stuff on the back end. But please use it because it helps.
Love that. Absolutely, Kirsten. I think that's the key. And you said something really key there. How are you going to use it? I think having a safe space or reserved effort or time or cycles with the right set of folks to allow some experimentation, to be like, hey, there's some new development. How do you think you'll use this? Talking to your different business users. How will this help you get your job done? Trying to identify those use cases and letting the users, in fact, we see this a lot with folks just starting out with AI. Leadership can never come up with all of the various use cases that the boots on the ground can come up with. They don't know the pain. They don't know the doldrums and the toil that a lot of these folks deal with on, doing the actual work. So leadership can do its best to come up with maybe different ways that AI should be used. But the best way to deploy AI is to get these tools in the hands of your users and see how they use it, because they're going to use this in ways you would never imagine. And they're probably going to be very valuable ways to save a lot of time, to be more productive, to accelerate decision-making, to open up new revenue paths. So the sooner you get the tools in the hands of these folks, the better you're going to learn. And to your point, Gjerjan, if you're facilitating a forum where you're able to show folks, those early adopters, here's some new innovation. How would you use this? If they can describe how they're going to use it, you can be like, okay, great. So from an identity-based security model, the who can do what, when, how needs to adjust because they're going to do something differently. So let's secure that path. And having that iterative, those cycles, I think becomes key to managing it and facilitating it at the same time.
And there's another problem that we see at companies, that everyone brings their own AI into the company. So if you have that dialogue running with your early adapters, you can say, hey, you want to use, I can hear that you want to use a tool, but we also have another tool that almost does the same thing. Can we try that just to keep we call that the sprawl of information and sprawl of applications down to an acceptable growth?
Love that. And that's such a key point too, because I think the more you constrain and say no and push back, the more folks are not going to tell you what they're bringing in. The new AI they bring in, they're like, well, I know you're already against this and you're not open, they're receptive. So I'm not even going to tell you about what I'm going to use. If you look at it the different way, the way we've just described, being adaptive and shouldering up with the early adopters and being curious and giving space, what we find is actually folks who bring in that new AI, they rush to bring it to you. Like, look, this cool new thing I found, let's secure this, because they want if they're finding value, they're going to want their colleagues to use it, other teams to use it. The business probably gets value out of it. You need to give them a space where they can run to you in an excited way to say, I've got some new stuff. How are we going to secure this? And you really can get there. That's some cultural, reconditioning and a lot of work to do that. But it starts with having an open mind and having experimentation and curiosity and adjustability and adaptability to innovation. But if you can embrace that from the top down and create those safe spaces, I think it starts to snowball into people start to bring it to you when they have a new thing because they want to see more people use it and they know you're open to it.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing you've hit on, Josh, is like if companies are open to innovation, then it's going to make things a lot easier going forward. If they're not going to be confrontational and go, no, you can't use that. We've blocked that. That's not how we do things. All of this, antiquated ways of, just yeah. But being more open to this whole kind of innovation and new things is obviously going to be more productive for companies in general.
But that's going to cost a culture swing, as you say it, from top down. But everybody in the organization has to adopt that will to change, will to innovate.
Right. And I think that's the hardest part. It's behavioral change is the hardest part. Like within MassiveScale.ai, sure, we're technology experts. We love AI. We love zero trust. We love tech. We love cloud, DevOps, acceleration of velocity. All of this is great. There's so much tooling and innovation out there. You could do such great things. But where we spend all of our time is with the people. It's changing behaviors. Change is hard for humans. And the kind of change we're talking about here from a department of no to the department of how, we spend more time with the CISOs and kind of showing them a new way than we do with the tech. It's that behavioral change is the part that I think many folks overlook, even leadership, executive teams and boards. Like, what are you doing with AI? What's your AI strategy? Well, I don't know. What business problem are we solving and how much change is involved in that? Like, we've got to go through this change management cycle. That's the bottleneck. The tech certainly isn't.
Yeah, we talked about this on a previous episode. We had another guest on, and he was talking about how he's working with a healthcare organization, and they basically used AI to automate one of the most mundane tasks in the organization. That was like some sort of form filling in thing, and like the adoption rates went through the roof as soon as they did this, because they went, oh my god, we got rid of that TP report or whatever you want to call it.
The TPS reports, yes.
TPS report, yes. For those who are not aware of Office Space, but yeah, the TPS report, whatever that equivalent was, is they got rid of it and automated it with AI, and it's like the adoption rates just were through the roof. So you have to be able to show the benefits, I think, because there is a lot of fear around AI with people as well, and that's why you get the pushback as much as anything else.
That's exactly why we wrote this book. There's a lot of great guidance out there for technologists and for security professionals, and it's full of jargon and buzzwords, and the decision makers can't understand it. So they have to blindly trust their technology or security leaders. We wrote this book for the business decision makers, for the leaders. No jargon. In fact, this is why I wrote it with my wife. She's a writer by nature. She's a user experience expert. And the whole book started by she was interviewing me for a podcast. It was supposed to be 30 minutes. It turned into 3 hours, and she's like, "We have to write a book." And so I come from a tech and a security background, and I'm naturally spitting out acronyms and buzzwords, and she just stops me dead in my tracks. No, like, explain it to me like I'm 5. No one understands this stuff, and this is so game changing. Everybody needs to understand this. Like, people, plain normal human beings, need to understand what's going on here. So that is why we wrote the book is to kind of get clarity on what it really is, remove the fear that's holding folks back, and enabling them to do this, but doing it in a way that's safe and secure, so that they can ultimately move faster with it. But it's a really good point, James. Yeah, the fear is real.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Josh, this has been really good. I think we've delved into company culture, shadow AI. As usual, we've gone off in numerous different tangents, but all kind of leading back to the one thing, which I suppose the key takeaway is about. It is about behavioral and cultural shifts within organizations that will drive their AI adoption. But obviously there's concerns around security. But as you said, the whole thing about CISOs switching their whole mindset to be the hero and like potentially look at, oh, what AI solutions can we bring in that I can secure and move forward with. So yeah, I think it's going to take a time, but it seems like we can get there.
We must get there, otherwise your
Yes.
company might be left behind.
Well, exactly. Yes, we must. You're right. We must, not we will. Yeah, we must, because as you said, the organizations will just who don't. Like like the saying goes, you won't be replaced by someone who you won't be replaced. Oh, what's the phrase?
You won't be replaced by AI, but by someone using AI.
Replaced by someone who uses AI. It goes. The
Yeah.
same message goes to companies as well. If you don't use AI, the companies that will replace you. So yeah.
It's exactly why we started this business, is to do exactly that. It's to help organizations get over the fear, embrace AI, and do it in a way that doesn't destroy their business. I don't want to overuse that term, but it's true, because there are ways to do this. And you mentioned healthcare, James. I know we're wrapping up here, but I'm very excited to see what's happening in healthcare. Last week, OpenAI announced a healthcare kind of specific technology and model.
Yeah.
This week, Anthropic, just 2 days ago, Anthropic released another kind of healthcare focus. And I have a lot of biotech clients, and there's a lot of excitement, and there is true accelerated value. We're reducing years of research, decades of research, by leveraging this technology in a way that is accelerating scientific breakthroughs. We really are going to see the ability to improve how we, have human health and safety in our lives. Talking about no more than a noble mission than that. There's some really exciting things going on in just the healthcare space. So I'm very excited to see those things. And it's great to see those type of organizations embrace this technology, because it truly accelerates their ability to do the scientific research that has typically taken years. And I can't wait to see the scientific breakthroughs that we make over the next few years because of it.
Yeah,
it's a great time to be alive. That's what I always say. It's
Yes, it is.
Being in this AI thing that's happening. It's incredible.
It is.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
So, and with that, thanks, Josh, for being our guest. Thank you for kicking off the new year for us. Thank you for the very interesting talk. And thanks, everyone, for listening, watching, and we'll see you all next time.